Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. The draft is over. The roster is mostly set for the 90-man side. Still some players to be moved around maybe, though. So we are breaking down my way too early 53-man roster projection. And yes, I've got the practice squad on the back end as well. We'll go by position group. Quarterbacks to begin. Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, and that's it. I had Will Grier on here, and I'm like, I couldn't make the numbers work elsewhere, so I moved on from Will Grier. I cut him, and I went with only 2 quarterbacks. And if everyone's healthy, that's all you need. And maybe even you get creative like you did last year, where you began the year with 1 quarterback on your 53-man roster. Maybe they won't go that far this time around. Let's go to running back. Tony Pollard's a roster lock. I think the other 3 to 4 spots, or I should say 2 to 3 spots, totally wide open. I don't think there's anyone else that's a roster lock on this team. So I went with Deuce Vaughn, my guy, 6th-round pick. Ronald Jones, who could even be RB2 early on. And I threw the fullback on there. The fullback, H-back, tight end, hybrid player here. Hunter Luepke out of North Dakota State. Now, he's got room to grow as a blocker. But special teams, teaser alert, I only ended up going with 3 tight ends, so stay tuned for that one. But I think that kind of position flexibility stuff makes it at least a little bit more intriguing from that perspective in terms of how everything juggles overall. So I went with Luepke there as they're really the 53rd guy on my team. Let's go to wide receiver now. Some roster locks here. CeeDee Lamb, Brandin Cooks, Michael Gallup. Those 3 are locked and loaded on this team. And I think unless Jalen Tolbert really struggles to show that he's figured out the football side of like knowing the assignments, being lined up properly. That was a big issue for him. As long as he's not mentally overwhelmed, I think he will be on this team as receiver 4. I think Cavante Turpin makes it as the return specialist. Maybe Deuce Vaughn, because he didn't do much at Kansas State, but I think Turpin makes it there. Receiver 6, a heavily special teams focused role. I gave to Simi Fehoko over, in particular, 7th-round pick, Jalen Brooks and Jalen Marino Cropper as well, who I think has a good chance to make it as a UDFA. The schedule is coming out for the Cowboys on Thursday. We'll have the actual details of when the Cowboys play their games, when they're on bye as well. Before it comes out, get your early record predictions in the comment section of today's show. It is going to be the pinned comments on today's video. So make sure you guys are subscribed. If the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and break that Cowboys record for me at the pinned comment of today's video. Let's talk tight ends now here for the Dallas Cowboys. I think no more than 4. I went with 3, so Sean McEwen unfortunately gets cut in favor of Hunter Luepke. These Schoonmaker, Ferguson, Hendershot, roster locks. I feel very confident putting those 3 guys on the roster. It's a matter of, does Sean McEwen make it as the 4th tight end? I am going to put Schoonmaker at tight end 1. He was invested more. You will still see plenty of Ferguson, plenty of Hendershot as well. But I think that's going to be a fun camp battle. How quickly does Schoonmaker, who's older than you would like for your 2nd-round pick, I'm pretty sure he's actually older than Ferguson, by the way, to make that impact in year 1. Of the 3 tight ends, who's the best one on the Cowboys right now? LS for Luke Schoonmaker, JF for Jake Ferguson, or PH for Peyton Hendershot? Sound off in the comment section of today's video. Offensive line, I'll go with 9 players. And we'll talk about players I cut. There's one guy who was the first player I cut when I was doing the 90-man roster stuff. I got the best 5 up here. To be determined if that is what it looks like in week 1. I think there's still some uncertainty in terms of where they're going to play Tyler Smith, then who's the left guard. So Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. I think Matt Farniok, and also Awesome Richards, who, unless he's just bad, with the recent draft pick angle, I think those guys make the team. I think Matt Waletzko makes the team. Chuma Adoga, who could either be cut, could be your last lineman, or could even start for you in week 1 still at left guard. He was the last guy on that list, so sorry to the Alec Lindstrom truthers, but stay tuned for the the practice squad side of things here in the not-too-distant future. That is the offense side of the ball. Kicker, I'm kidding, we're not going to kicker yet. That's last. Defense is next up here. This one was a little bit easier for me up until cornerback. That is where things got a bit dicey. Defensive line, I'm going 5 guys here, at defensive tackle, I should say. Oso Digizua, Mozzie Smith, Sean C. Golston, Viliami Fehoko, Jonathan Hankins. I feel great about those 5 being on the team. That did mean that I cut Neville Gallimore and Quinton Bohanna, but carrying 6 interior defensive linemen is a lot. And you could cheat by saying Golston, Fehoko, or edges, but then you're going to carry 11 defensive linemen, including DT and defensive end, is a lot. So I went 5 DTs, 5 DEs. Micah Parsons, Tank Lawrence, Sam Williams, Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong. If anything, you might want to go deeper at edge and try to add one of those UDFAs, Tyrus Wheat, Darrell Johnson, Isaiah Land. I like those guys a lot. I think there will be some good UDFAs. I love this UDFA class, but I couldn't quite give them the edge at this point. Now, we will have more Cowboys minicamp, OTA, etc. coverage for you right here on the Cowboys Report. Make sure you are subscribed to the #1 Cowboys YouTube channel out there. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. You know, I almost went with 4 linebackers. I cut Will Grier to make room for Jabril Cox and Devin Harper instead of picking one of them in the end. Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark, DeMarvion Overshown, Devin Harper, Jabril Cox. I almost went with 4. 5 is still light, but remember, you had to. You could play Micah at linebacker. And your safeties, Jaron Kearse, Marquise Bell, can play in the box and give you pseudo linebacker reps. So I went with 5. This close to going with only 4, but 4 just felt like too light there. The secondary, cornerback. This was a tough trim down because you got, I think, 9 rosterable players, including C.J. Goodwin. Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland, obvious locks. Jordan Lewis, unless you could save some money, but I think you want the extra depth for a proven past starter. They traded up to get Eric Scott. I think he's going to make this team. Hope he ends up being really good. And maybe you don't love him as, CB5, but remember, you can also play Israel Mukuamu at safety. But I cut some big names at corner because they have not played well enough. Who do you think ends up getting cut? Bigger name, the better. Name one player you think minimum ends up getting cut by this Cowboys team. So remember, Mukuamu can play some corner for you. So he's kind of like your, I don't know, maybe your 4th, or I guess the 7th defensive back, 3 starting safeties, including Malik Hooker, your 3 corners, Diggs, Gilmore, and Bland. Then Mukuamu's your super sub. You also have Marquise Bell still on this team, and the Cowboys hiring some other safeties who we'll get to into the on the practice squad side of things. Now, I like the safety room, and I am just very glad overall the Cowboys have invested finally in recent years at the safety spot. That is offense. That is defense. Let's talk specialists then. Brian Anger, your punter. Done. Trent Sieg, they sent as the long snapper. There's no one else. Him. Kicker. I don't know. So I will go coward's way out and not pick a kicker. If I had to pick one, I kind of think it's going to be Nick Folk. Cowboys legend. Patriots traded up to take Chad Ryland. Nick Folk's old, but he's been better than Robbie Gould has been. So I'm actually going to go Nick Folk, but you could bring back Brett Maher. Producer Jeremy loves fat Randy Bullock. Mason Crosby knows McCarthy, but Mason's been bad for like 4 years now. Tristan Vizcaíno, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's on the roster, but I don't think anyone thinks he's going to be the guy. So insert kicker here, I guess, is your 53rd player. Some notable players cut that I do not have on the practice squad side of things. Josh Ball. He's now getting some guard reps. Remember how it works. If you're bad at tackle, they're going to try you at guard, and that's where Josh Ball is at. Neville Gallimore. Quinton Bohanna. Actually, he'll get him in the practice squad. Teaser. Tack McKinley. Yes, he's on the roster, but I don't think he's going to make it. And I cut both of Kelvin Joseph and Deshaun Wright. In general, people always freak out more about the getting a player to the practice squad than what they should be. Now, these guys, some bigger names, maybe they don't get there, but you're able to get about 95% of the guys you want to get to the practice squad. So with that in mind, name a player who you want on the Cowboys practice squad this year. It's not quite good enough for the 53, but someone you want to have some more time to develop long term. Here's my 16-man squad. The Cowboys will have several players not on the roster on the practice squad, so it's a bit cheating, but I'll throw Will Greer on there, Malik Davis, Rico Dowdle. I stopped myself at 3 receivers. I had like 5 guys on there because I love putting receivers, but you're not going to carry 5. Dennis Houston again, last year's UDFA darling. This year might be Jalen Marino Cropper, by the way. Jalen Brooks in there too. Sean McEwen, you can stash him. TJ Bass, Earl Bostic, and Alec Lindstrom, 3 offensive linemen. Quinton Bohanna, he's the odd man out at nose guard. You have Hankins and you have Mozzie Smith now. The 3 edges you signed who I like, and I would not be shocked if one of Tyrus Wheat, Darrell Johnson, and or Isaiah Land make your roster. I like Miles Brooks as a UDFA. Maybe Nashawn Wright gets picked up as a former 3rd-round pick. 2 safeties, Tyler Coyle and Wanye Thomas. The Cowboys will, I'm sure, make some moves. There will be injury stuff that causes some changes. When stuff happens, we break it down. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Free videos every single day right here on the Cowboys Report.